Fear 2 is a weird game for me. I keep saying that Fear 2 is not a bad game, but I also complain about it a lot. Like almost everything about Fear 2. I complain about almost everything about Fear 2. So why? Why do I complain about this game so much, despite me saying Fear 2 is not a bad game? Well, the answer is actually very obvious. Because Fear 2 is a sequel to Fear 1. Before I talk about Fear 2, let's talk about Fear 1. Fear 1 is one of the few games that I think is a masterpiece alongside win games like Half-Life 2 and Halo 3. Fear's level is so awesome. The gunplay, man, the gunplay is one of the best in video games history. And the atmosphere, almost everything about Fear 1 is perfect. And that is the reason why Fear 2 disappointed me so much. Let's talk about the movement first. This part will be really short because this is the first thing I noticed when I play Fear 2. Movement feel really weird, especially when you sprint in Fear 2. In Fear 1, you cannot sprint, but your character movement is so smooth that you don't care. But in Fear 2, your character move really weird. It's hard to explain why it is weird. You just have to play it yourself to find out. Or maybe don't play it at all, because Fear 2 kinda suck compared to Fear 1. Now let's talk about the graphics and art style. When talking Fear 1 versus Fear 2 to my friend, I always say this, is that you look at Fear 1, you can tell it was made as a PC first title. And then you look at Fear 2, you can tell Fear 2 was made as a console first title. Yeah, you can say that Fear 2 do look better than Fear 1, but the problem is it doesn't look like Fear. I think Monolith chose the wrong art style for this game. And the graphics, I did say it looked better than Fear 1, but the attention to details is somehow worse compared to the first game. Okay, now let's talk about gunplay. And before I talk about the gun design and the gunplay, let me show you a clip comparing Fear 1 shotgun to Fear 2 shotgun and show you how bad Fear 2 shotgun feel. As you can see, the Fear 2 shotgun just look weaker compared to Fear 1 shotgun. And you probably also notice in the Fear 2 gameplay is that why all the gun in this game feel so futuristic. I don't understand why they make the gun look like this. In Fear 1, all the gun was based on the real life weapon. For example, the shotgun was based on SPAS, and the submachine gun was based on MP5. So what happened in Fear 2? Why make all the weapons feel like they come from the future when Fear 2 take place only, I don't know, immediately right after Fear 1? And I don't understand why they changed the gun design. And remember, the prologue of Fear 2 take place right before and right after Fear 1's ending. So why the gun looks so different? And normally I can ignore the gun design if the gunplay is any good. And I can say while gunplay is good, it sucks compared to Fear 1. You saw the comparison between Fear 2 shotgun and Fear 1 shotgun, and to be honest, the same can be said about every other weapon in Fear 2 compared to their Fear 1 counterpart, except sniper rifle. And one thing they removed in this game is the weapon zoom and replacing with iron sight, which in my opinion are worse compared to weapon zoom in the first game. And it feel like they just trying to copy Call of Duty in Fear 2 and ended up making something that doesn't feel like Fear. When compared to the first game, the only good thing I can say about Fear 2 gunplay is the sniper rifle, and that's it. That's kind of pathetic because the first game is some of the best gunplay in video game history. So seeing Fear 2 gunplay kind of make me really sad, to be honest. Now let's talk about level design and AI. Let me just say, AI in Fear 1 is one of the best AI I have seen in video game. And with good level design in Fear 1, you feel like you're a fighting player in Fear 1, even though those enemy are just AI. And that is one of the reasons why Fear 1 is such a masterpiece. So I was expecting them to improve the AI and improve the level design in Fear 2. Sadly, that's not what we got. Level design in Fear 2, while it's serviceable, is really not good compared to Fear 1. And AI also suffer because of this level design. In Fear 2, AI just feel dumber compared to Fear 1. But from what I found online, looks like Fear 2 used the same AI from Fear 1. So that means the level design are the reason why AI enemy in Fear 2 feels so dumb. Another thing they remove is the enemy conversation. Is that in Fear 1, when you're fighting those replica soldier, you can hear them talk to each other, reporting, and also they will shouting, flanking him, or any other thing. But in Fear 2, I can't hear those conversation anymore. I don't know if because it was too quiet, or they just remove it for no reason. And that actually hurt the game because it just makes fighting enemy in Fear 2 less interesting now. They did try to improve the AI by making them able to flip object to make cover, but the animation is so long that they just become free kill. They also probably they actually know that probably they mess up, so they try to fix it by making their damage higher, but it only made the game more frustrating to play. I was playing at the hard difficulty, and let me tell you, some part remind me of Halo 2 Legendary, and that is definitely not a good thing. Now let's talk about the gameplay. And first, I talk about the thing they add in this game. And first of all, they add vaulting in Fear 2, which I think was unnecessary. Because in the first game, you can jump over obstacle, but now you have to see your character doing unnecessary animation just to vault something that you can jump over in the first game. And I didn't talk about movement earlier in the video, but I have to say this again. Becky moved really slow compared to Point Man. And the reason they make your character move so slow is because they add a sprint in this game. And the sprint feel weird. It's really hard to explain how weird sprint feel in this game. And one thing I forgot to mention in the gunplay is now you can carry full weapon, which is actually pretty good. And another thing I think is unnecessary is the removal of character leaning in Fear 2. I use leaning a lot in the first Fear game. And they remove it in Fear 2 only make it feel weirder to play Fear 2. And I think the only reason they remove leaning in the Fear 2 because, like I say very early in the video, is that this is the console first game. And I think that is one of the reasons why they removed leaning in Fear 2. And the last thing that I almost forgot to write in the script is that you can flip object to create cover in the game. And I think in games like Fear 2, it's useless. I barely use it in my first playthrough. Why even add this thing in the game? I don't understand why. In conclusion, like I said in the beginning, I don't think Fear 2 is a bad game. It just sucked compared to Fear 1, and that's a problem. The only problem this game have is that this game is called Fear 2, so it's normal for people to compare this game to Fear 1. And one of the reasons why I'm so disappointed after finishing Fear 2, it's not a worthy sequel to Fear 1. I think that's all I want to say about Fear 2. And this is the first time I'm writing script that is this long. And I think a video will have a lot of grammar problem because again, English is not my first language. But I was trying my best and will try to improve my English in the future. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.